In the city that never sleeps, amidst cold numbers and burning ambitions, a woman discovers the true value of integrity. When silence becomes an accomplice and truth a risk, Emily Carter faces a choice that will define not just her career, but who she truly is. Some battles begin with a simple no. Emily Carter adjusted the collar of her dress shirt while watching the sunrise. Through the subway window, the Manhattan sky flaunted shades of pewter that blended with the silhouette of the skyscrapers. It wasn't long before she reached Sterling & Cole Investments, the investment firm where she had worked for almost 5 years. She glanced at her wristwatch, simple, with a worn leather strap and a slightly scratched glass. It was the only item her father had left before losing everything in the 2008 crisis. Richard Carter, a small independent broker who always said, "Numbers without character are sand, my daughter." Back then, she was just a college student full of dreams, watching the man she admired leave his small office carrying a cardboard box with belongings and shaken dignity. Emily liked to arrive before everyone else. The marble lobby of Sterling & Cole was quiet in the early morning hours, without the murmur of forced laughter and the echo of high heels chasing quarterly bonuses. As an equity research analyst, she had built a solid reputation, talent with numbers, convincing narratives, accurate reports. She turned balance sheets into stories that made sense and demystified overvalued companies with 2 lines in Excel. "Good morning, Miss Carter," the security guard greeted as she swiped her badge at the turnstile. "Good morning, Joe. How are the preparations for your daughter's birthday?" The man smiled, surprised that she remembered. "All set for Saturday, 15 years old. Time flies." Emily returned the smile. Details mattered. People mattered. It was what her father always said. On the 27th floor, the automatic lights turned on as she walked through the corridors. Her desk was exactly as she had left it on Friday, organized, with colorful post-its marking pending reports and a small plant bravely enduring the intense air conditioning. Minutes later, she heard hurried footsteps. I'm here, Reena Patel entered, black hair tied up in an impromptu bun, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I brought yours, macchiato with little sugar." "You are an angel, Reena," Emily smiled at the 24-year-old intern. "How was your weekend?" "Intense. My parents came to visit. They wanted to know how the internship is going." Reena adjusted the agenda filled with colorful post-its on her desk. "My dad can't stop telling everyone that his daughter works on Wall Street." She rolled her eyes, but her pride was evident. Emily understood that pride. Reena was the first in her family to enter that world. The daughter of Indian immigrants, she had earned the internship through her own merit, demonstrating keen intelligence and enviable dedication. Emily mentored her as if she were a younger sister. She saw in Reena the same fire, the same determination that she herself had when she joined the firm. As the office filled up, the environment changed. Loud voices were discussing operations, phones were ringing incessantly, screens displaying graphs and numbers in green and red. For many, it was just noise. For Emily, it was a familiar symphony. "Emily, Reena, update meeting in 10 minutes. The voice of Graham Whitford, the 56-year-old senior partner, echoed down the corridor. Tall, perfectly cut gray hair, impeccable suit. Graham was known for his public charisma and his ruthlessness behind the scenes. He had built a solid career at the firm, climbing positions until he became one of the most recognizable faces of the company. In the meeting room with a view of the Hudson River, the team gathered. Graham spoke with the confidence of someone who completely dominated the environment around him. Emily presented her analysis on a pharmaceutical company, pointing out discrepancies between official projections and real outcomes. "Excellent work, Carter," said Graham, although his eyes had already shifted to another matter. "This is the precision we need. Everyone, follow his example." The meeting stretched on for 2 hours. At the end, Graham announced, "Team dinner tomorrow in celebration of the quarter's results. Midtown at Le Cirque. Attendance is mandatory," he concluded with a smile that left no room for excuses. The team dinner was in full swing at the elegant restaurant. Crystals clinked, laughter echoed, and wine flowed freely. Emily noticed Reena sitting across the table, looking slightly uncomfortable but determined to fit in. "How are you adjusting, Patel?" Victor Landon's voice, one of the senior directors, sounded too close to Reena's ear. "Very well, sir. I'm learning a lot from Emily and Carter is competent but too rigid," Victor cut in, pouring more wine into the young woman's glass. "Talents like yours flourish when they know whom to obey." Emily watched the scene from a distance, noticing the subtle discomfort on Reena's face. When the young woman went to the bathroom, Emily followed her. Is everything all right? She asked, finding Rena leaning against the sink. Yes, of course. Rena attempted a smile. Just a little tired. Emily hesitated. Is Victor being professional with you? Rena looked away. He's just being friendly. I think he wants to help me. The next morning, Emily arrived at the office to find Rena already at her desk, staring intently at the monitor. You got here early today, Emily commented. Rena, without taking her eyes off the screen, replied in a low voice, He sent me an email at 2:17 in the morning. Emily sat down next to her. Victor's email contained inappropriate emojis and an invitation to talk without noise, just you and me. The tone was suggestive, clearly crossing the professional line. Rena, this isn't right. We need to report it to HR. The young woman shook her head, eyes wide open. I can't. What if I lose the internship? My parents... Trust me, Emily held the intern's hand. We'll do this together. The company has clear policies against this type of behavior. That afternoon, the two headed to the Human Resources Department. Elena Ruiz, the 45-year-old director, received them with a neutral expression. She listened to the account, took notes on her tablet, and assured them that the case would be handled with the utmost discretion and seriousness. Sterling and Cole does not tolerate any form of harassment, stated Elena, eyes fixed on her tablet. We will investigate and take appropriate measures. Thank you for trusting our protocols. In the following days, Emily noticed subtle changes. Her desk and Rena's were relocated to a more secluded area due to a layout restructuring. Rena lost access to certain systems, supposedly due to security adjustments for interns. In meetings, Emily received strange looks and conversations ceased when she approached. There comes the compliance heroine, she heard someone whisper in the hallway, followed by muffled laughter. A week later, she received a notification from Elena. Could you stop by the meeting room quickly? With a weight in her stomach, Emily walked into the glass room. Elena was sitting with a white envelope in front of her. Emily, I regret to inform you that the company has decided to terminate your contract due to professional incompatibility, announced Elena, her smile not reaching her eyes. The reasons are detailed in this document, along with the terms of your departure. Incompatibility, after 5 years of exemplary evaluations, Elena maintained a steady gaze. The company's needs evolve. We feel that your work style is no longer aligned with our corporate culture. On the subway ride home, Emily held the still-sealed envelope. The city blurred past the window. A couple argued about the rent. An elderly man dozed with a newspaper on his lap. She clutched her father's watch, remembering a note he'd left her before he passed. When the ground gives way, look for what doesn't collapse. The following Monday, Emily was sitting in a modest room in a less imposing building, a few blocks from her old job. Across the table, Marcus Hill, a 41-year-old labor litigation attorney, reviewed the documents she had brought. Do you have proof? Asked Marcus, crossing his arms. His eyes, though tired, conveyed intelligence and cultivated skepticism. I have emails, access changes, the complete timeline, and I have Rena. Witnesses falter, Marcus observed, adjusting his glasses. I falter too, Emily admitted. A slight smile crossed the lawyer's face. Great, people who don't falter tend to lie. Marcus explained his situation. He had been a prominent lawyer until he lost a landmark case against a large financial institution 3 years earlier. That defeat had pushed him out of the main circuit, leading to the end of his marriage and a crisis of faith in his own profession. Why are you willing to face this? He asked, studying her carefully. You know you'll be labeled as a troublemaker all over Wall Street, don't you? Emily touched her father's watch. Because I can't look at myself if I don't do anything. And because Rena deserves more than to learn that silence is the price of success. In the following months, Emily and Marcus meticulously built the case. A turning point came when they discovered an internal memo mistakenly attached to a corporate email, a spreadsheet of reputational risks where Rena's and Emily's names were highlighted in yellow, days before Emily's dismissal. Sterling and Cole responded as big corporations do, with a team of expensive lawyers, impeccable public statements, and a subtle discrediting campaign. Too ambitious, difficult to work with, inflexible. Marcus prepared Emily for what he called the social winter. Invitations that no longer arrived, former colleagues who stopped answering calls, journalists who wanted sensation, not truth. On silent nights, Emily looked at her father's watch, asking not for a miracle, just the strength to follow her path. Rena remained steadfast, although fearful. Her internship had been reevaluated. She was transferred to a less prestigious department, but she refused to retract her testimony. In court, Graham Whitford presented himself as imposing, describing Sterling and Cole as a demanding but fair family. Elena Ruiz, technical and precise, recited internal policies as if she had found refuge in rules. When it was her turn, Emily spoke about what lay in the subtext of the policies: the isolation after reporting, the late meetings to align culture, the compliments with implicit prices, and the spreadsheet with names of people treated as risks. Rena, with trembling hands but a firm voice, confirmed Victor's inappropriate behavior and the consequences after reporting it. "Miss Carter, why didn't you just stay quiet?" the company's lawyer asked during the interrogation. Emily looked at her father's watch before responding, because the silence hurt more. The lawsuit dragged on, days without headlines, technical hearings, detailed examinations. Emily and Marcus reconstructed timelines, gathered evidence, and connected patterns. The case transcended the boundaries of the court, reaching coffee shops, social networks, and conversations in other companies. A former colleague anonymously sent a message, "Thank you for not giving up." Other women from other firms started contacting Marcus with similar stories. What was once invisible was gradually gaining form and recognition. On the eve of the verdict, Marcus found Emily sitting on the marble bench in the courthouse lobby. The evening was cool, with the scent of impending rain. "Is there something you want to say?" he asked, sitting down next to her. Emily touched the watch on her wrist. She didn't give a speech, just nodded, as if aligning her breath with something greater than her own fear. The jury deliberated for less time than everyone expected. The verdict acknowledged retaliation and a hostile work environment. When the judge announced the amount of the compensation, a record for similar cases, a murmur ran through the room. Graham remained impassive. Elena looked away from Rena. Marcus, a man of few celebrations, took a deep breath, like someone finally letting go of a weight carried for years. The next day, Emily made a decision that surprised many. She refused part of the confidentiality agreement that required her total silence on systemic practices in the company. This meant less immediate money, but greater freedom to speak about the case. In a restrained interview without a triumphalist tone, she announced the creation of a support fund for interns and assistants who reported corporate abuses, offering legal guidance, psychological support, and career mentoring. Rena Patel accepted the invitation to coordinate the program. Sterling and Cole tried to rewrite its history with corporate wellness initiatives and inclusive culture training. Graham Whitford left his position to pursue personal projects. Surprisingly, Elena Ruiz quietly resigned and sent Emily a brief email. "I didn't have your courage. Thank you for reminding me it exists." 6 months later, on an ordinary morning, Emily walked through the same lobby where she had once lost her job. Now she was heading to a meeting with young analysts from a different firm, not to talk about revenge, but about choices. "Numbers without character are like sand," she said, quoting her father without explaining the origin. Some took notes, others just listened attentively. As she left, she stopped for a moment, feeling the breeze flowing between the skyscrapers. For some reason, she felt that the city, in some way, recognized her place in it. There were no spectacular celebrations or lasting sensational headlines. There was, indeed, the simple order of things when they find their rightful place, a door that withstands pressure, a clock that keeps the correct time. Some victories are not noisy, they simply persist. And in the silence that follows great decisions, something realigns internally, as if an invisible hand adjusts the hands of life with precision and compassion, reminding that true wealth is not in bonuses or boardrooms, but in the quiet courage not to betray one's own conscience.